Hello, I am Pete Demar with Battery Research and Testing, and I will be narrating this session of our stationary battery maintenance tech tips. This is tech tip number 12, locating a path to ground in an online battery. In this tech tip, we're going to explain how to quickly and easily locate the cell that is causing the path to ground in a battery that has developed an unintended ground. This is handy when you cannot see any evidence of the path. This tech tip is going to be primarily a vocal explanation with just a few slides. But before we go any further, first some COA statements. 1, if you do not know how to safely work on stationary batteries in either energized or off-charge battery systems, do not attempt this. 2, if you do not know what the proper PPE is and use it, do not attempt this. Okay, let's get back to the tech tip. All of us that perform the hands-on battery maintenance on stationary battery systems has at one time or another had a battery that had developed a path to ground that had to be located and removed. Sometimes it is easily observable, and sometimes you just cannot see any clues as to where it is. This works with either vented or valve-regulated battery strings. For this example, let's assume that this is a 60-cell lead-acid battery, then it is being floated 135 volts, and that this is a perfect world, and this system normally measures 67.5 volts on each end of the battery. This would be a typical power plant or substation or switchgear type arrangement. There is a ground alarm, and you have to locate it and take appropriate action. First, you need to measure and record the most positive to ground, the most negative to ground. This is to give you an idea of approximately where to start measuring from individual cells to ground. Just divide the voltage of the lower number by the average volts per cell, and it gives you a starting point. Next, you go to that starting point location and measure from the positive post on that cell to ground. What you're looking for is a voltage that is less than 2 volts. If you are above the normal volts per cell, you keep testing cells. You need to continue through the string until you measure less than the 2 volts. Once you've done that, you now have located the cell that is providing the path to ground. What you do now to remove that path is dependent upon the cell type. If this is a vented, flooded, wet cell, whatever you want to call it, and let's say you still cannot see anything, you need to neutralize all surfaces of the jar plus the battery rack, rail covers, and rails as best you can. If this is a VRLA string with individual cells or units that are setting on a standard open type battery rack with rails, in other words, the same type of racks as for the vented cells, then the neutralization process is the same as for the vented cells. However, if it is a VRLA battery with individual cells in the steel trays or cans, it can be a little more complicated in locating and then eliminating the path. Obviously, the first step is going to be the same. You got to look closely at the area where the cover of the cells is in contact with the tray. Look for any signs of discoloration of the plastic or for any moisture or corrosion. Another good location to look with some designs is around the post seals, especially when the post seal and the cell retainer are close to each other, as this is an easy place for leaking electrolyte to find a metal path without having to travel far. Visible moisture or corrosion is proof that electrolyte is coming out of the cell, and it needs to be neutralized first to remove the path to ground. And in most cases, the cell will then need to be replaced. You can verify that this is a path by placing your voltmeter probe on the moisture and on either post of the cell. If you measure any voltage, then you have located a path from inside the cell to outside the cell. If you see a darkening path on the plastic that will usually be most visible at the point where it is touching the metal, this is a burn mark. Not a good thing to be seeing, because obviously there is a good enough path that is passing enough current to try to start a fire. You basically are arcing on the plastic. This needs to be taken care of right now. If you have located the cell that has the path to ground, but you cannot see any evidence of the path, the next step is to verify that the cell is structurally intact. This requires performing a pressure check on that cell. We usually use 3 to 10 psi, as that has worked for us to find most of the leakers. That procedure is explained in Tech Tip 25, pressure checking VRLA cells. If you cannot locate the path to ground on the cell while it is in the tray, the next step will have to be that the battery is removed from service, so that you can pull the cell out from the tray in order to inspect the cell in more detail. Sometimes there will be a leak develop on the side of the cell where the cover and the jar are sealed together, but you just can't see that with the cell in the tray. To look at this area, the cell must be pulled partway out of the tray, which means to do this, the battery needs to be removed from service. Everyone that works on this type of battery and has had to remove individual cells from the trays knows that sometimes this is a difficult process when the cells are stuck in the tray and do not come out easily. It frequently will require 2 or more people with different prying tools, 2x4s, axe handles, etc., in order to get the cell to come out. With some, even after you remove the vent to let the pressure out, they still refuse to slide out easily. Because of the difficulty of this process, we developed a process that makes the removal of pretty much any size cell that is stuck in a tray a one-person, relatively easy to do process. Real simple and easy with 2 people. This process is explained in Tech Tip 20, which is pulling large 2-volt VRLA cells out of their trays with minimal effort. Well, that's a long title. Hopefully, this explanation on how to locate a path to ground is beneficial to you. If you are interested in understanding more about what we do or might be able to help you with, please go to www.batteryresearch.com and look around. If you'd like to be notified when we release a new tech tip, please go to info@batteryresearch.com and tell us to notify you when we release a new one. Or if you just have a question on a stationary battery subject, just do the same. Oh yes, if you have any experiences or pictures of unusual things that you have found, please share them with us so that all of us in this industry can benefit each other. Have a great day, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you.